Alright, Lesson 2, Wall System Stairway Construction Critical Dash 051236 1142 1143 2109. Introduction. The primary objective of the good construction is to direct the building the structurally sound with the structure will withstand the such force of the wind and the vertical loads. Part A. Framing the members. When the framing consists of the side studs, plates, braces, crimples, trimmers, headers, fire blocks. This is supported by the floor system. Prefabricate the member of the frame wall on the floor of the building. Then raise the member into position, brace the nail, and bolt them in place. Studs are closely spaced vertical members that support the weight of the upper floor of there, provided with the frame with the exterior, the interior finishing of the main stud that can be spaced 20, 16, 24 inches on the center. Layout stud with measuring with the one corner of the distance of the stud or space with making the ticking mark on the plate with the proper measurement and land the window of the door opening to determine the stud of the pace. Nail with the existing plate with the 16 and 20 penny nails. Alright, this shows figure 2-1 show the tick marks on the plates. The studs are 16 inches apart, tick mark, and the door opening sole plate, studs, window opening top plate. The bottom is the sole plate, the top is the top plate. The studs are in the middle. They are 16 inches to 12 inches to 24 inches apart. 16 to 20 inch males. Window opening and door winning the left on the tick mark. To gain proper location window with the window and the door openings will need the additional studs. Asking new studs of the plate with the same layer previously install the studs. The new studs are not framed 26 to 12, 26 to 20 inches on center. See figure 2 plate. The type of the two plates are top and the bottom sole. Plates are laid on the completed frame with the lifted easily directly in place for the least amount of movement with the wall. Top plates are horizontal. Remember the portion with the frame is wall is called the top plate. It's served with the cap of the studs and support with the joist and rafter and studs. The top plate ties and studs together with the top, ensure the studs are aligned with the provided support with the structural members above the plate, and also provide the base with the roof rafters and tie roof with the walls together. To be effective, the top plate should be double the top of the walls portion. Show that the joints staggered and double top plates are discussed in paragraph 29, page 212. Alright, you got your plates with 222 placement of the other studs, the sole plate, new stud, and window opening, door opening, new studs, and the top plate. Sole plates. Use the sole plate with the dimension not less than with the studs with the walls due on the rest of the sills with the girder beam within the studs the corner post intervals evenly spaced except for the portion of the wall intersected. 2-3 doors, windows, and open the frame. The doors opening is desirable to double the stud, the cut short of the stud of the trimmer, the side with the opening of the nail with the inside face of the new studs. Alright, this shows the trimmer stud and the outside. The trimmer studs in the middle. The header is above the door opening. The new studs are on the outside of the trimmer stud and on top of the sole plate. Headers, usually 2x4 or 2x6 lumber to make the header with the double the header when the side of the lumber is used. Double the header when the size of the lumber is used. When this size of lumber is used, so the amount of lumber to be used. The header is determined by the width of the opening and the bearing of the loads. The subset with the make of the window opening install the header or the header over the window with the same way. But you install the header over the drum. The subsole may be framed with the trimmers and cripples. The subsole they can either be single or double the nail with the bottom of the piece for the outside with the proper height of the nail with the top piece and the sole of the bottom section. Figure 2-4. Alright, shows the cripple. Alright, the trimmer stud is in the inside. The cripples are underneath the header, the bottom, the subsill. The rough opening is between the left and up and vertical and the horizontal between the opening of the window. The header is above the window. The new stud is to the side of the trimmer. The trimmer stud is the inside on top of the sole plate. Alright, cripples. Place the cripple or jack studs. That's what the under and over the window over the door opening. The cripples are placed over the window and over the door openings. Cripples are placed in same intervals. Ordinary studs. And are installed after the openings are framed. The severe or same purpose of the stud the rest of over the wall. 2-4 bracing. Bracing is used with the shift in the frame construction, making the rigid bracing along with the use of the ridges window with its own twist and strain with a good bracing with the keep the corner square and plumb bracing. Prevents warping, sagging, shifting with the hood, and otherwise distort the frame, cause badly fitting with the door window with the 3 methods with the commonly used with the bracing frames. Structures are let in, cut in, and diagonal sheeting bracing. In some cases, the temporary bracing may be used instead. Alright, figure 2-5 shows cripples or jack studs underneath the wall, window subsill with the cripples jack studs above the header, and also cripple and jack studs above the door. And let in bracing is set with the edge of the stud flushing with the pressure, but the studs always cut the braces and never cut. The braces are never cut. The studs are always cut to let in the brace, and the braces are never cut. Okay, so let in the brace. The braces are crosswise. Let the windows and the header and the subflooring and the stud. Cutting in a brace. Cutting in a brace toenail between the stud of the insert of the diagonal progression with the stud running up and down with the corners and the sole plate with the top plate and sills figure 2-7. 2-7 shows cutting in the brace. You cut in the brace. You notice that it's now cut in between the wall as a retardation ball. Wall, sheeting, box sill, joints. Do not cut the stud or the brace. Do not cut the studs. Diagonal sheeting bracing. The strong type of the bracing with the diagonal sheet figure 2A each of the board of the wall. The plywood sheeting of the 5/8 inch thickness or more as you the method of bracing limited. Or 2A shows sheathing, using the wall sheathing, diagonal bracing, window opening, the sheathing used with the diagonal bracing. Or temporary bracing is played for an interval small enough to hold the wall with the straight with the bracing played for the diagonal stud with running with the sole plate with the top of the plate with the increase the strength with the wall and grants the horizontal stress. A temporary brace holding the wall. Alright, now for figure 210, you saw starting. You see your diagonal bracing, your trimmer stud, header stud, new studs, roughing, opening, the cripple jack studs, header, sole plate, top plate, trimmer stud, jack stud, subsill, rough opening, new studs, header, and cripple jack studs. Alright, your fire block. Fire blocks are short and piece of the 2x4 fit snugly between the studs. They are placed midway up between the studs to prevent spread of fire inside the wall. Use the fire blocks well for different according to local building code. The figure 211 shows the proper placement of the fire blocks. Alright, this shows the fire block midpoint required locally, and then you got your diagonal brace, sole plate, jack stud, substill, rough opening, left and horizontal of the window sill, crippled jack stud above the header, new stud along the trimming board, and studs in between the wall and the wall. Cripple jack studs above the header of the door, the rough opening left of the fire block, and at the midpoint with the required local code between the trimmer stud or the new stud or jack stud, sole plate. Alright, 2-6, post-construction. When parchments meet over the wall, the corner of the studs builds up with a 3 or more 2x4, more regular 2x4 to provide greater strength. Corner posts with 2 posts are most frequently used. Corner posts are commonly formed with the inside of the corner, outside corner, which provides a good nailing base with inside wall coverings. Studs inside of the corner of the frame construction are usually built up through more ordinary studs that provide greater strength. With the built up with assembly with the color of the corner post, they are set up and plumbed in temporary place. The corner post must also be made with the following ways. Figure 212. A 4x6 with a 2x4 nail with the board with the front flush in one edge of the type of the corner with the 4-inch wall. If the walls are thicker than the heavier than timber, to use a 4x4 with a 2x4 nail to each adjoining sides. Or if you can see figure 212B, 2 4x4s nailed together with the blocks and blocking them between the 2x4 flush with one edge for the figure 212C with the most common method. 2x4 nail to the edge of another 2x4 edge of the one flush with the side of another. The type is extensively in the 3-day operation with the nail inside of the edge there. Alright, one show the 4x6 with a 2x4, 4x4 with B's, 2 4x4s on a 4x4. Alright, D shows a 3 2x4s with a split 2x4 and 2 2x4s in post D. Alright, T-posts. Whenever partition meets the node of the wall, the stud wide enough to extend with the end of the partition over the both side that provides a solid nailing base for the inside wall finish. The type of the side is called the T-post pot, made in the following way. For the C figure 212 of the page 210, 2x4 may be nailed in the center of the face of the die with a 4x6 with a 2x4 may be nailed in the center of the two 4x4s nailed together. Two 2x4s nailed together with the block between the 2x4 centered on the waist side. The 2x4 nailed in the center of the face with a 2x6 with a horizontal bridging nailed behind them, giving the support and stiffness. 2x7 plumbing post. For the 2 methods of the plumbing post, method 1 is to plumb the corner with the plumb bob. Attach a string to the bob, and the string should be long enough to extend to or below the bottom of the post. Lay the rule at the top of the post so that the 2 inches of the rule may extend over the post and inside of the tie to be plumbed. 213 show the piece, the T-post construction. Hanger bob line over the rule with line with 2 inches from the post to extend with the bottom of the sheet referred to figure 214 with another rule measure the distance between the post with the center of the line and the bottom of the post. It must measure 2 inches of the post to the bottom. 5 must of the inward outward until the distance from the post and the center of the line is exactly 2 inches of the nail temporary brace plate. Repeat this procedure otherwise outside of the face of the post. The post is then plumb. Note the following process: each of the corner of the post of the building and the plumb block level is not available to you for the rock or half brick, small piece of material. Method 2: an alternating method of plumbing a post is shown in set with the figure 214. The use of this method: attaching a plumb block string securely to the top of the post and the ends of the plumb. Be sure that the string is long enough to allow the plumb block to hang near the bottom of the post. Use 2 blocks of wood identically thickness for the gauge of the block. Tack 1 block near the top of the post where the plumb block string and the post with the guard block 1. Insert the second block between the plumb block string to the bottom of the post and the gauge block 2. If the entire face of the second block may contact the string of the post is in plumb bob. Alright, this shows the 214 shows the plumbing of the post, shows the plumb bob on the outside of the plumb bob string for the rule 2 inches and the 2 inches of the ground from the ground line, 2 inches off the side of the post, the plumb bob gauge and the gauge block 1, gauge block 2, plate and plate sole, braces. Alright, 2-8, bridging. The term bridging is used to refer to the bracing the joints and stuff of the frame of the walls bridge, but the most common, in most cases, to make the most sort of the type of the bridging of the diagonal with a horizontal diagonal bracing nail at the beginning, big angle between the stud of the 3, figure 215, page 212. Most effective horizontal type of the because of the form of the continuous truss to keep the walls sagging whenever the post for both interior the partial and exterior walls should be bridged alike. Horizontal bridging. The horizontal bridging is nailed between the studs horizontally to halfway between the sole and the toe of the top plate. The type of the bridging is to be cut in between the studs. The measurement should be taken with the sole plate. In case if the studs were open, such bridging not only stiffens the wall, but also helps the straightening with the studs. So if the bridging in the staggered 216, page 212. Or 215 shows studs and diagonal bridging. 216 shows horizontal bridging. Notice they step down and up and in. Double top steps. A frame of the walls were assembled and set in place, but they must be tied together. Tied together. Use the double top plate to interlock the exterior wall with the corner and load-bearing portion wall with the overlap the double top plate for the corner of the tie load-bearing wall with the wall's exterior walls. Figure 217. Leaving opening the top plate outside of the wall, allow the double top plate with the ET inside the plate for the outcut with the plate for the double top plate, and allow the overlap to fit. Figure 218. 217 show the lap at the corner. They show the top plate, lap top plates. Figure 218 shows the lap of the partition wall, top plate on the stud, top plates, portion of the wall. 210, hasty wall construction. Hasty wall construction usually frequent with the theater of the operation. Typical construction uses a lot less material requires less time. Panel used at the end of the wall and side wall. The end panels are listed and the walls are end of the building. Have studs and extend to the rafters that do not require top plates. Figure 219. End walls, panels, 214 girt. 2x4 girt, side wide panel with the plate for the 2x10 feet, 2 to 10 feet apart with the girts placed horizontally between the stud of the construction and side walls. Vertical siding normally used the type of the construction. 220 shows side wall panels. Alright. Part B, wall sheathing. After completing the framework of the building, the vast covering of the known as sheathing. The sheathing includes exterior wall sheeting and finishing siding, interior wall sheeting, exterior wall sheeting, and sheeting is nearly directly over the framework of the building. It is used with the strength of the building to provide the base wall within the finishing of the side with the beginning nail, the active of the insulation. In this case, some cases the base for further insulation. Some common types of the sheeting include wood, guys, gypsum board, and plywood. Wood sheeting may be nailed horizontally, diagonally. However, the diagonal application adds the greater strength of the structure. The sheeting is to be put horizontally, start with the foundation work to the top of the. If it is put diagonally, it start with the corner of the building and work toward the opposite wall. Alright, gypsum board, long edge of the 4x4 boards, tongue in the groove of the gypsum board can be nailed together with the wood siding directly over the stud. The gypsum sheeting is fireproof, water resistant, windproof. It does not warp, absorb the water. It does not require the use of building paper. Our wood sheeting show the narrow corner, horizontal siding on the felt. Also wood sheeting with the wood window opening horizontal, diagonal. Figure 222 shows the gypsum board in between the joint and the baseboard. Plywood is highly recommended for the wall sheeting because of the weight of the strength of the structural property of plywood. It's most commonly used because it adds a lot more strength within the frame with the usually diagonal and plywood with the wood boards. Comes in 4 feet wide, 5 to 8 feet long sheath, 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch. Installed with the sheath, the face of the grain parallel to the studs. Page 216 usually applied with the vertical floor of the ceiling. The plywood is correctly applied with the flushing joint. The joints do not need to be concealed. However, to improve the applying of the joints must be covered in moldings of the bat and flat fastened over the joints and applied with the spines between the parallels. Less expensive plywood can be covered with the paint and covered in the same way as the plaster strip. The figure 224 and 216 shows how to fit the plywood rough and uneven walls. 223 throws the plywood sheeting going on the wall. Also, the scribe line following the contour over the wall. Scribe being scribed for the use of the template cutting wall. Place the piece of the scrap material in the angle of the scribe. The mark will indicate the surface of the perpendicularities. 2. To solve the scrap metal along with the scribe line. 3. Play for the scribe to stripe of the wall panel material to be used to keep the straight edge for the scrap material over the edge of the panel. Scribe the good sheet with the panel. 4. Solid sheets along the scribe line. This method can be also used with the sheetrock. However, it would be easier to fill the gaps with cover the uneven lines within the joint compound. Figure 214. So it's fitting wall panels on uneven panel walls. 212 finishing sides. Finishing sides outside wood finish over the wall. Only board side making with the long narrow boards will be covered with the section. Vertical wood siding. The vertical wood siding is nailed securely to the grids with the 8 and 10 penny nail for the crack. Will cover the wide strip called battens. And to make this type of the more weatherproof, some of the tower paper light roll roofing may be applied with the siding and the sheeting. See figure 225. 225 shows vertical wood siding, the sheeting, and then the building paper that going up on the sheeting of the vertical wooden siding from the board batten side. Horizontal wood surfacing. The horizontal wood siding of the cut varies with the pattern size to be used with the finishing outside of the structure. It should be figure 226 should be well seasoned lumber siding made inside ranging from 1/2 inch to 1 inch by 12 inch. 2 types of siding are beveled and dropped. Saturated felt on the outside and the inside the horizontal siding and the narrow corner boards. Alright, beveled siding. Beveled siding is made of the beveled siding, thin of the top and edge, but the thickness of the butt and figure 2020. For the most common form of the wood siding, it comes within 1 inch from the narrow width and 2 inches over the width of wide types. It is nailed as a solid sheeting over when the building paper has been attached. Alright, 227, the beveled siding show the beveled side lap and this beveled side ship lap. We have 4 inch bevels, 5 inch, 6 inch, 7, 8 inch, 10 inch beveled siding. Alright, dropping siding. Dropping siding, give the combination sheeting, the separate sheeting that comes with the wide of the variety of the face finishing, either with the ship lap, tongue, and grooved. When shiplap is not used with the door and window casing are set after the siding is up, the sheeting is used with the building on the paper, and used with the building paper is added and drop siding is applied with the bevel to siding after the window and door casings are in place. Alright, to the left shows drop siding, different tongues and grooves, drop siding, tongue, and groove on the right. Alright, 213, sheetrock tools. The following are the tools application sheetrock hammer, used with the hammering nail, sheetrock carrier lifter, used with the carrying and lifting of the sheetrock knife, used to apply and finish with the joint compound, 4-inch knife used to both bed the tape of the first layer with the joint compound, filling the dimples with the 6-inch knife used for the feathering of the second coat, 12-inch knife used in the third and finishing coat. The corner trowel, flexible at 90 to 103 degrees, used to apply the joint compound interior corners. The lead pan is used to hold and carry the joint compound. The corner bread, the cripplet to fasten the corner bread with the crippling T-squares used to lay out and the guide the 90 degree of the cut with the sheetrock. The utility knife is used to score and cut the sheetrock, figure 229. Saw, score, or snap separately sung in the back of the knife with a knife. The keyhole saw used for the cutting of the regular shape, the opening for the outlet box of the opening serve form, used for the smooth the sheetrock edge for the cutting. Tape banjos used to apply the tape dry with the joint compound tape wet. Sandpaper sponge used for the feathering and smoothing dry with joint compound. A chalk line used to facilitate layout with a 16-foot measuring tape. Used for the measuring sheetrock, 4-foot hand level over the plumb. Sawhorse used to place sheetrock to make a cut. 214, interior wall covering. The interior wall covering is divided into two general types: wet wall material, such as plaster, dry wall material, including wood, sheetrock, plywood, fiberboard. On drywall will be covered in subcourse. Only drywall will be covered in subcourse. Drywall, sheetrock, fiberboard Plywood usually 4 foot wide and 5 to 8 foot. Long sections 1/4 3 inch with thick. The drywall is supplied with either single or double thickness for the panel placed in shown figure G30 with a cover to the bottom wall. Ceilings also allows to start with the ceiling with an annual ring nail with a applying finish joint drywall to produce nail pops. Alright, where walls are not more than 8 inches high, first layer of the parallel with the studs, second layer of the facing at the right of the angle of the studs. Where the walls are more than 8 foot high, first layer horizontal joint staggered, 12 boards, and the face layer of the parallel set of the full length of the subfloor to the ceiling. Sketch at the right shows proper cutting of the fitting with the face for the doors and windows and the wall of the weather. The particular particle vertical joint on the side wall should be placed above the door windows opening to reduce the joint treatment at a minimum. Alright, B, drywall sheetrock installation. The three steps in installing sheetrock with the hanging, the finishing, and the patching. Hanging sheetrock and applying the sheetrock as follows. Install sheetrock on the ceiling first. The measure for the distance for the inside edge for the top of the plate for the outside for the second ceiling joint. Measure for the cut of the piece for the 48 inches length, long width measured above. Then install the secure for the ceiling with the sheetrock nail space for the ceiling with 5 inch, 6 inch in center. Determine the starting point on the wall. We use the measuring tape locate a section where the section of the A field with the center where the full sheet could be laid horizontally. Check the layout to ensure that no joints are above and below the door. The window opening sheath will be installed from the ceiling down to the floor, starting at the ceiling. Install the first sheet with the help of another person. Place the sheet with the sheetrock position with the edge fall on the center of the studs. Place the sheet snugly against the ceiling. Leave the hand level to ensure the level. Secure the sheet with the sheetrock nails to 6 to 8 inches on the center, 3/8 of an inch from the edge of the install. The ceiling sheet with the top half of the wall against the installed sheets, ensuring the joints on the fall with the center of the studs. Proper nail spacing maintained. Usually utility knife, sheetrock, saw, or cut open from the doors and windows. Layout. Receptacle, measure the distance inside of the corner of the both sides of the receptacle box over the record, then make the distance, then install with the sheetrock at the top of the bottom receptacle box, record, measure, mark these dimension receptacle cut out with long for 16 to 11 inch clearance involved around. Cut the opening of the receptacle, use the opening for the receptacle, use the utility knife, drive the hole within the opening, use the key saw hole saw cutting the opening, use slightly under the bevel the back over the opening, enlarging the front of the opening. Install the prepared sheet plate for the prepared sheet within position. Ensure that the receptacle fits opening with the breaking of the paper. To make adjustment between the opening of the necessary. Secure the sheet with the side of the sheetrock nails using the Suriform smooth with the rough edge for the opening. The necessary layout and cut the sheet for the corner post. Measure for the cut and required number. Side sheet for the covered corner post. Scrap materials as needed. Install the corner bead, the corner bead, the crimper with the install of the corner bead on the exterior corner of the corner post using nails as necessary. For the the finishing sheetrock, the finishing the process consists of the covering nails, nail heads, or covering the seam, but the covering the seam to prefer to use finishing joints. Finishing sheetrock valve with the track the improperly released recessed nail. You're running the edge of the sheetrock knife over the nail head with a clicking sound to indicate the nail needed with the recess. Use a 4-inch knife with the putty mud pan with the joint compound and apply with smooth coating joint compound over the nails. Remove any excessive compound. Use a knife with the mud pan to apply a heavy coat with the joint compounds over the sheetrock joint, horizontal, vertical. The heavy coat with enough to ensure the good bond between the tape and the sheetrock to fit the tape to the edges. Measure the cut tape into the length required by the joint, keeping the tape over the joint with the short. Start one end of the joint and work together at the opposite end. Using the knife pressure the tape with the compound, removing all the excess compound. Work off all of the excessive joint compounds before being careful not to wrinkle the tape, and then leave the air bubble to continue to tape all the joints in the same manner. 231 covering joints, the sheetrock joint compound, paper tape, split section, 4-inch tape to apply the heavy coat with the joint compound sheetrock with the inside corner. The measure for the cut on the tape lengthwise required for the joint. Fold the tape lengthwise, half lengthwise, keep the both ends for the even. Then use the corner of the tape with grease if necessary. Apply the tape at the top of the work downward, running the edge of the hand over the center of the tape to ensure that it is in the corner, using the inside of the corner tool with pressing the tape with the compound. Working off all the excess compound before carefully not wrinkling the tape or leaving the air bubbles. Okay, this shows applying tape at the corners. You have your joint, you have your paper tape, your feathered joint compound, and sheetrock. Applying the first coat with the joint compound over the tape, apply with the medium coat with the joint compound, further compound 6 inches into the 3 inches of each side of the joint. A good job of the feathering smoothing will minimize staining later. A second coat of the joint compound over the top of the tape of the nail covering the joint of the compound previously applied with the must apply with the dry. Use a 4-inch knife to apply with a thin coat of the compound over the nails for each, removing any excess compound. Use the steps above to apply the second coating of the joints using a 6-inch knife, feathering out 6 to 8 inches to each side of the joint. Apply a third coat of the joint compound. The joint compound previously applied with must be completely dry with the steps above, and apply the third coat with the 10-inch knife, and feathering out 10 to 12 inches to each side of the joint. Nail should be required the third coat, but they have to be applied if necessary. Use a damp sponge with fine sandpaper and fine sandpaper to the surface with a smooth finishing, ensuring that there is no voids and surface ready to receive the paint. 233 finishing with the joint, sheetrock, feather joint, compound, paper tape, paper patching, sheetrock. There's several different methods of the patching sheetrock depending on the size of the hole. From small holes, apply the fiber mesh directly over the hole. Cut the tape with the joint compound feather edge, sand the sponge smooth with after the dry. The first side of the holes. For fist-size holes, cut a rectangle around the edge of the keyhole saws. Cut the piece of the backing slightly large enough for the hole opening itself. Glue the screw back into place. Cut the patch and glue in the backing. Using either wallboard adhesive plastic, apply the tape of the coat, then compound feather the edges of the hand sponge to the area around the other after they're dried. For large holes, marks and cutting a rectangular section around the damaged area, reaching with the center of the nearest studs. Cut the patch and screw on the nail with the studs. Apply tape and cut in the compound further the edges of the sand sponge to the area with the smooth after it is dried. Alright, part C, moldings. The different type of trim of the buildings with different type of the architectural relationship to design buildings are called moldings. Base molding. Interior trim of the building should be matched complete with the design of the doors, windows of the building. The base molding trim that should be between the finish of the wall and the floor. The available to several the widths and forms. Two pieces of the base consist of the baseboard top, the small base cap, the common side of the type of the baseboard is 1 by 4 inches wider. One piece of the baseboard varies in the size of the 1.5 to 3 inches or to 1 by 4 inches wider. Figure 235. All the wood members of the desirable junction wall of the carpeting is to serve as a protective bumper and wood trim that sometimes eliminated entirely. 234 show the two-piece baseboard, square edge base with a base cap and a base shoe. Your 235 one-piece baseboard, narrow ranch base, wide ranch base. Square edge on two-piece baseboard consists of the square edge base top on the small base cap with the wall covering with is not straight with the true small baseboard, conforming more than closely variation of the one-piece base alone. The type of the baseboard usually 5/8 of an inch by 3 1/4 inch bit wide with the inside of the square base edge baseboard with the butt joint with the inside of the corner, but then mitered joints outside of the corner. Figure 236 and 226. Figure 226 is the square edge of the baseboard, so the miter joint, the outside of the corner of the cope joints, inside corner butt joint, narrow width with wide ranch base of the one-piece baseboard, 3/4 inch, 3 1/4 inch wide, with the wide of the varier than 1/2 inch, the 2 1/4 inch, about 1 1/2, 3 1/2 inch wider. Wood member junction over the wall, carpeting side with the protected bumper, however the wood trim is sometimes eliminated. Baseboard furnished with 1/2 to 3 1/4 inches base with the shoe of the single base molding with a shoe sometimes placed in the wall floor junction, especially with where carpeting may be used. Our baseboard should be installed with the butt joint with the inside of the corner, mitered joint with the outside of the corner. It should be nailed to each side of the 2 8 penny nails. Finishing the base molding should have the cope joint with the inside of the corner, mitted joint over the outside of the corner. The cope joint is one with which his first piece is square cut against the plaster of the base, and the second molding is coped. Done by sawing at 45-degree miter along the inner line of the miter. The bake shoe should be nailed to the subfloor and with the longer slender nailed not into the baseboard itself. There is a smaller amount with the movement of the floor not opening while occurring with the shoe. The several pieces of the molding are needed. They should be joined in the lap of the miter. The face of the base shoe projects beyond the face of the molding and the butts. Or part D, stairs. The most critical factor of the stair design is the relationship between the riser and the run, or tread. Riser and tread, or rise and run. Unit rises at 7 inches, 5 1/8, and 5 inches high with appropriate tread that will be combined with both comfort and safety, although with often fine services. Stair sleepers, step steeper, and riser should not exceed 8 inches to make the stair sleeper increase the riser and short of the run. This shows the picture of the stair design with a 7 1/4 inch run, 10 1/2 inch run, tread and riser. Not approximately 1 1/4 inch over the top, over the 1 12 inch run, 6 1/2 inch rise. Alright, 217 stair design. Use the following rule of design stair. If the rule 1, sum of the two risers, one tread should equal 25 inches. Sum of the one riser and one tread should equal 17 to 19 inches. Rule 3, the height of the riser multiplied with the width of the tread should approximately 75 inches. According to Rule 1, the riser of 7.5 inches would require the tread of 10 inches. The 6.5 inch riser would require a 12-inch tread. Alright, 218 stairway calculation. Calculate the number of the side of the rise of the tread if the given the run of the first drive with the total rise of 7 by 7. The total rise with the stairway is 7 feet 10 inches with the 94 inch. The answer will be 30 for 13 and 43. So there must be a whole number of the rise for the select the one closest to 13 and closest to 13 and divided into the total number. The 94 divided by 13 is 77.234, 7 1/4 inches. The number of the rises is 13. The riser of the height 7 1/4 inches. In a given stairway run, figure 238, the number of the treads will be one less than the number of the risers, and the 10.5 inch tread will correct the following example. The total run will be calculated as follows: number of the treads 12 inches, total run number of the 10.5 inches by 12 inch tread, 126 inches to 10 foot and 6 inches. Stairs will have 13 risers each with a 7 1/4 inch height, with 12 of these treads each with a 10.5 inch wide, with a total run of 10.5 feet and 6 inches. Show for the stairway run. The run is 10 foot 6 inches of the rise in the floor and joist, and the studs and sole plate of the tread and riser is tread at 10.5. The riser is 7 1/4. 219 stairway frame. The frame simple straight and the string straight. The narrow piece with the straight side calling the story pole. The story pole mark on the distance of the lower floor, upper floor level, the lower room height, the plus the thickness of the floor. The joints rougher than finished flooring. It's also the total rise of the stairs. Keep in mind that all the plate of the stairs from the rise of the right triangle, the rise of the height of the triangle, the run in the base, and the length with the stringers and the hypotenuse. So that the dividers in 7 inches long average distance of the one step to another. The step of the distance of the one over the on the story pole. Adjust the divider span slightly. Distance will not divide evenly with the length of the story pole. Step off the distance again. Continue to adjust the stepping off until the story pole is marked off evenly. The span off the dividers must be near the 7 inches to represent the rise of each of the step. After the count of the number of the space of the steps off evenly divided on the story pole, this will be the total number of the risers on the stairs. Measure the length of the stair opening with the length of the run of the stairs. Obtain the length of the plans of the stairway opening length with the forms of the base of the right of the triangle. The height of the base of the triangle has now been obtained. Alright, 220 stairway dimensions. Same word procedures can be used to determine the height of the rise of the length of the stairway, the width of the tread, the width of the tread, the rise height. The ordinary determine the height of the riser. You with the set of the divider set with them in 7 inches of the now step of the distance story pole. One end of the pole with the marking that with made at the other end of the distance and not provided with the length of the story pole evenly with the divider span slightly and against the top of the step off of the distance of the story pole. Continue adjusting step off of the story pole marked off and evenly. Now count the number of the spaces stepped off. This will be the total number of the risers and stairs. Stairway length. Measure the length of the stairway and length of the runner of the stairs. May be also obtained with the details of the plan. Tread width. Determine the width of each of the tread. Divide the number of the stairs. Risers less one. Remember that there's one or more of the risers threaded into the running stair. The runners may obtain to be using steel square, laying off the run of the risers of each tread and the riser of the stringer. See figure 239. Show the 239 shows laying off the run of the riser 2 1/4 inch, 7 3/8 inch stringer. Okay, locate the width of the tread, height of the riser with the steel frame square. You have 3 figures of the laid the tread of the riser. Each step of the string equal the number of the risers previously obtained. Dividing the story pole in the equal spaces. Your stringer is now ready to be cut. Lesson 2 practice exercises. Lesson 2 practice answer key. Lesson 3 roof construction.